Welcome to the Political Matrix News. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix. We'll restart. Hey, sports fans, welcome to the Political Matrix News. Rob Milford in Orlando, Greg Fink in Gainesville. This is our 287th episode, so we really appreciate you joining us here. Most of those, as we've had a discussion prior to the camera going on, a lot of those are being basically banned by social media because of our violent content. So I'd like to apologize for all the violence and all the bloodshed and all the animal brutality we have shown. And I blame Greg primarily for all of that.
I'm not eating any cats.
Well, let me show a picture of Greg earlier today about to eat a cat. And you'll notice that he has to put on a human face when he gets in front of the camera today. I guess topic one would be Donald Trump, but you know what? There's something else that's just popped up. Matt Gaetz, the investigation into his alleged, I hate that word alleged, but to his sexual misconduct, not simply in the Florida House, but apparently also as a congressman. But the issue really is the 17-year-old, that makes her underage, 17-year-old being flown to the Bahamas for a sex and drug-fueled weekend. And there is plenty of evidence, and a federal judge is in the neighborhood of allowing all of that information out to the public. I got to tell you something. That gets out, I don't know, between now and Election Day. Matt Gaetz is freaking toast. We both know him, Greg, better than most people, and couldn't happen to a nicer guy, right?
It couldn't happen to anybody nicer. I mean, I think all the evidence that might be coming out about it, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the evidence dump is going to happen with the judge. And for people who don't understand, it all has to do with Chris Dorwith, who is another player and another accomplice with Matt Gaetz, and a lot of the issues that were going on. He is suing the guy from Seminole County for basically, saying that he was part of all that. And so, unfortunately, whenever they were doing the lawsuits, there's a lot of evidence and a lot of discovery that came about during all that. And so that's what's going to be dumped here. And supposed to be on the 19th of September. And so we'll see what happens.
We're a week away, next Thursday. Okay. Yeah. That's fine. By the way, we're doing this on 9/11. This is the 23rd anniversary of the horrible attacks on America.
Exactly.
Where were you? What were you doing?
I was actually doing a construction job, and we're doing military housing, and in Milton, Florida, and we're actually building a house for a commander at the time, and everything got stopped because at that time, after the attacks happened, he ended up getting shipped off somewhere else. So basically, the house got canceled. All of our future projects got canceled. And so basically our company went out of business at the time that I was working for. But I mean, and we had heard we're listening to it on the radio. And some of the guys at the construction site were excited and happy that it finally happened to America. That turned into a pretty big fight. There was a very big fight that happened on the construction site that day. A whole bunch of regular old redneck patriotic Americans are beating the crap out of these guys here who were not from America, who were, from other countries doing construction work. And I thought it was about time that America got their due. And so that was a pretty, that's how I remember it.
Where did you bury the bodies?
There were no bodies buried. There were no bodies killed. But they were beaten up pretty badly by the construction. I got it out of the way. I was a small guy at the time. I was a very small little 170-pound guy. It's hard to believe that now, but
it is. I got you.
So,
I think they're lucky. I think they were lucky that they got out alive and they didn't throw the bodies in the the Yellow River that runs through Edmond Air Force Base.
River. We're right near the Blackwater River.
Or put them in crab traps out in the bay. I was in Dallas. I woke up about the time the first plane hit, 7:45 Central Time, I guess, and got up, went to the bathroom, came back out of the bathroom within a minute or so, a little contact juice in the eyes and trying to wake up. And I turned the radio on to my radio station where I was working, and I hear this strange voice. And he talks about plane and World Trade Center. And in Dallas, a lot of people don't know this, but on Stemmons Freeway, just west of downtown, there is a World Trade Center. It is a copper-colored, probably about 8-story building. It looks like an inverted wedding cake. It's a beautiful building. And right off of Stemmons, and that is the World Trade Center. Now, what makes it interesting is that's only about 5 miles off the end of the runway for Love Field, the in-town airport for Dallas, the hub of Southwest Airlines, where they started, really. But tons of general aviation, everything from Piper Cubs to Lear jets and all that corporate stuff. And so I'm listening to this and I'm processing and I'm going, what the hell? A plane hit our World Trade Center in Dallas and the desk didn't call me. So I'm hitting speed dial on my phone going, what's the deal? Thinking it was here in Dallas, but who's this strange voice on the radio? And she goes, no, it's the World Trade Center in New York. Okay, first question. How big was the plane? We don't know. Okay, nothing, no idea. And, and then we immediately kick into the 1945 B-25 bomber versus the Empire State Building, because that's the only thing that even remotely, right. But I mean, they were lost in weather. They were 1,000 feet. And if they could have gone 50 feet either way, they'd have missed it. And they were just in the wrong place. And that's just bad navigating. They got a navigator. He said, hey, you guys, that Empire State Building here is like 1,100 feet tall, 1,200 feet. They should go a little higher. They failed. They died. And I think it was just the crew of the plane and one guy inside. So I go out and I turn on the TV and then I go into the kitchen. I'm going to, pass through to look at. And I'm watching, I see this building burning. Okay, that's the World Trade Center. And I grab a bowl of cereal while I'm watching this. And all we're hearing is repeating, I forget who I was watching, could have been Fox, could have been any one of the network morning shows. But because, of course, the networks, their 1 hour delay in the Central Time Zone. The Today Show, Good Morning America, run from 7 to 9, which they delay everything an hour, but they cut to the live action. And and I'm sitting there with my Frosted Flakes, Tony the Tiger and I spending another morning together before I got up and really got going to work. And I saw the second plane fly in to the South Tower. And I think I had the spoon about right here, and I was just ready to shovel it, and I saw that plane go in, and I may have said, oh, shit, to myself. I may have said it out loud to the Frosted Flakes. And then the next thought was, we are at war. It's a severe, clear day. Visibility was forever. Airplanes don't fly into buildings. They just don't. And I said, we are at war. I called my station. I said, where do you need me to go? And I had a gear bag, and then I have extra radio equipment that I would carry around for the network. And then I had a split in a hurry bag, hit the fan bag. What do they call those things? Bailout bag, clothes, and everything. If I didn't know where I was going to have to go. So I grabbed all of that, and I mean, my passport's in there, and $1,000 in cash, a pistol. I mean, I'm all set, right? And I bolt for the door, and I throw it in my car, drive to the office, grab my news unit, and by that time they said, go to DFW Airport. Okay, no problem. I get to headquarters there, and they said, okay, go in the go into the theater. That we're going to use that as a bullpen. And I'm in there, and somebody from the Dallas Morning News comes in, and we look at each other going, what the hell's going on? So at this time, it's probably 8:30, 8:45. It's been about an hour. And because it takes a while to do all these things. And I called the office. They were still wall-to-wall. Everybody's wall-to-wall coverage from New York. And then the South Tower collapsed. And I didn't see it. they didn't have a TV monitor for us to look at. So I went out into the office and people are looking, oh, you have to go back to the theater. I said, screw that. I want to see what the hell's going on. And then I realized they announced they were closing the airspace. Right. They probably already announced it. And I'm watching the rerun of the South Tower fall. And somebody said, they've closed the airspace. And that's never happened before, ever. It was one of those things they talked about in the 50s when Russian bombers were going to come across the North Pole and bomb America. Russia never had a bomber that could make it all the way across the North Pole to even North Canada. But we feared that. That was the sale point of a lot of the Cold War crap. Right. And so I immediately split. The station didn't need me. New York did not need me because they're hyper-focused right there. So I stepped out of the building, and DFW Airport is 4 runways north-south. And I got to a clear view, and it was a tremendously clear day in Dallas as well. And as far as you could see, there were airplanes all landing. Now, airplanes are spaced 3 minutes apart, and it's a stair step. So this guy is 1,000 feet, and this guy is 3,000 and 5,000 and 7,000 and 9,000. And you could see 6 sets of lights out there, and which means you're looking at the next at least 15 minutes worth of landings. And they were trying to coordinate so the same size planes wouldn't have a problem, and they could tighten up the interval to, say, 2 minutes or so. It's 3 minutes when you have, or maybe even more when you have jumbo jets, a 767, 747, that sort of thing. They had a problem in that passenger planes full of people did not have a place to go. The planes at the gates were empty, and nobody's there to push them out and to unload. They got this sorted out. Everybody had to change their emergency plans, and knock on wood, it's never going to happen again. But this was an amazing sight. And then it kicks in. All of these people have to go somewhere. They have a separate terminal building at DFW Airport, which is just all the car rental places. When you go to the little terminals, the car rental place, you get on a bus, go a couple of miles south, and it's there. And all of them are there, everything. They're all there. And they were slammed like you wouldn't believe. Guys would get keys and say, I got to go to Baton Rouge. I got to go to Lubbock. I got to go to Oklahoma City, whatever. I got to go to Chicago. You got stampeded. You had 6 or 8 people that had to go to Chicago. And they're going to have to drive. And every car went out of there full. Every car. 12-passenger van probably had 15 people in it. So we're watching this. I'm there. The TV monitor is showing. There goes the second tower. Then here's a picture of the Pentagon. And now Flight 93 is the only airplane in the sky. Greg, there are an awful lot of conspiracy theories about everything that happened that day. And there are things that are not answered to my satisfaction. And one of them is the World Trade Center Tower 7 that did not get hit by an airplane. What the hell? No one's really ever successfully, because they go back to the Rothschilds and the Bilderbergers and the lizard families and the 12 families that control the world and all this other crap.
And that tower collapsed as well, right?
Yeah. And
so 3 towers collapsed.
Yeah, we know about the
but
2
2
big
got
ones.
hit by planes.
Yeah.
And the 3rd one didn't get hit by anything.
Nope. Because where it was situated, the North Tower they were not lined up. They were offset. North Tower was north and to the west corner, if you will, of that block. And the South Tower was on the southeast corner. There was enough space separate, a hell of a wind right through there. And then Tower 7 was across the next street and above, one block north.
So is it possible all the friction from the first 2 buildings falling might have hit the ground at such a force that
it burned
the structure?
The building burned.
Huh?
Okay, and then collapsed. So that's one of those things that's never been That's
Yeah.
never been successfully. Look it up, and it's all conspiracy theories all the time. Now, and the other thing that comes up
That's curious.
is, Flight 93. And Flight 93 was a plane going from Newark to San Francisco, I believe. It took off about 20, 30 minutes before the first airplane hit the North Tower. And so they were up Pennsylvania, almost to Cleveland, Ohio, when the bad guys started attacking. Two guys forward rushed the cabin door. They stabbed somebody with their box cutters. They smacked around a flight attendant. And there was another guy in the back saying he'd kill every guy, got a bomb, he's going to kill everybody. And those guys had been the ones who, they all had taken flight lessons, all over the country, some here in Orlando, some in Fort Worth, where I was, some Miami, Daytona Beach, they're all over. And Southern California. When you have almost unlimited resources of a nation state and can send these guys to the U.S. for 8 months, 6 months, a year, in advance to do all of the advanced work.
A few were in Whiting Field, a few of them were in Duke Field also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's really, oh yeah, that's right. There were a couple in Pensacola. Yeah. So the Flight 93 turned around and was headed to Washington. And they didn't know if that was going to be the Capitol building or the White House. I don't know. I think that the Capitol would have been much more symbolic if it had just crashed right into the dome,
Right.
And I wouldn't have upset me if Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi were in there at the time. And that's how repulsive I find them. But the passengers took action, and the next day or 2 days after, it was those 3 days were kind of a blur, and I remember being home, so I'm watching the ABC evening news, whether it was Wednesday or Thursday, and they had a story out of Pennsylvania that wreckage from Flight 93 was in the lake 3 or 4 miles north of the crash site. Now, I've covered plenty of airplane crashes. I mean, plenty. And when an airplane crashes going pretty much 75, 80, 90 degrees straight down, wreckage is not going to go the opposite direction for 3 or 4 miles.
No, it's not.
That story doesn't exist anymore. And I know I have a good imagination. Believe me. I didn't imagine that story. It really happened. There was wreckage in that lake, and people got the attention of that reporter, and he did a piece on it. It has never been seen since. What I got within a week from a longtime friend who was in the Air Force was that not one but two pilots from, I'm trying to remember, North Dakota, maybe the North Dakota, South Dakota Air National Guard, were on a training mission, on a training flight, coming back. And they were just in the area, just a normal cross-country flight. And they were vectored in to check on Flight 93. I believe they were in F-16s. And they came up to Flight 93. They're getting radioed from the Pentagon, and Bush is out of contact at that time. And it was Cheney and maybe Rumsfeld that basically made the decision to shoot it down. Now, here's the thing. We don't know. We just simply don't know what happened at that point. There's also the very dramatic story of the two Air National Guard people in Washington, D.C., who was like the squadron commander and just another lieutenant. And they didn't have any weapons. But if there had been a plane coming at D.C., they planned one of them to ram the cockpit, one of them to ram the tail. Either one of those things would have made it a very successful, would have crashed the airplane. They would have been basically kamikazes. And they both got air medals for just going up and doing that. Those F-16s landed at North Dakota hour and a half later, 2 hours later. And one guy was transferred to Germany or Italy that day. The other guy was transferred to Japan or Korea, same day. They got a promotion. Captain became a major, the lieutenant became a captain.
Wow.
And they were never heard of or seen again by that unit. Now, I don't know about you, but I have this on really good authority. And is it possible that Flight 93 may have been shot up to shot down and the wreckage fell in that lake 3-4 miles north of the impact area? Yeah. Guess what? I don't have a problem with that. We were at war. And in war,
Right.
people die no matter, they just do. Innocent people die every day. When the Houthis in Yemen right now are shooting missiles at ships out in the Red Sea and the Indian Ocean and shooting stuff towards Israel, and we go in and bomb, people will die. Not just the goobers who are shooting the missiles, but people in that block, maybe the whole neighborhood.
Right.
I don't think Israel wants to kill all the Palestinians in Gaza, but I think that they will die because those people in Gaza put up with Hamas and Hezbollah, and their parents put up with Yasser Arafat and the PLO, bunch of shaky scumbags, basically. And, I just, it happens. And in war, people are going to die. And if, in fact, they did shoot down Flight 93, those guys deserve a medal. And they need to talk about the critical decision-making process. And I think they probably have a lifetime NDA, non-disclosure agreement. And
right.
You know what?
It's been 23 years now.
That's the way it goes. 23 years.
It's been 23 years. I have no, I have no hope that any kind of information like this is going to come out for the next 25 years.
Easily. We don't have all the scoop on John Kennedy.
Exactly.
Okay. 61 years. We don't know about Amelia Earhart's spy mission.
No.
On behalf of the United States of America in 1937. How do you know about that, Rob? Well, one of the guys that worked on the airplane spilled his guts in the 60s about installing 2 cameras in the belly of that Lockheed Electra. Another guy, a famous aviator by the name of Frank Tallman, knew that they did not put the 685 horsepower engines in there. They put the 950 horsepower engines. They look a lot alike, but it's just a little bit beefier. But they told everyone, "Oh no, we're going to have these 2 685s in there." No, you had the 920s or 950s, which gave you another 50 mile an hour speed, maybe more, and also allowed you to go higher. And if you were flying over Japanese territory in what they call the mandates left over from World War I, Truk, Kwajalein, and others, you would have gone straight north out of New Guinea, hit boom, 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 hit 3 or 4 targets, and then gotten down to Howland Island on schedule. And it's very possible she ran out of gas. It's also possible she was shot down by the Japanese. And they may had to belly land, and then the Japanese captured her. And the book is called The Search for Amelia Earhart, and goes into great detail. It tells you the prison where she was kept on the island of Saipan. It kind of gives you an idea where the graves were dug, and they killed him, beheaded him, and beheaded her. And they dumped their bodies in a grave, and they walked away. And that a lot of her stuff was in the safe of the commanding officer of the Japanese garrison on Saipan, and was recovered by the Marines in 1944. And so again, this is now 87 years ago.
Right.
And somehow they still decided deserves to be a national secret. And I'm like, you know what, 87 years, what the hell is anybody going to do about it? I would say that she would be a bigger hero to the United States for doing the patriotic thing. That would be me. So that's what 9/11 was. It was a blur for 3 or 4 days. When we caught our breath, the airports opened back up on Friday. One of my coworkers who had lost a friend at the Pentagon, had to go to Delaware for his funeral. I think they actually dated in high school, to tell you the truth. And, it's just tough. And when they were handing out assignments next week, the news director had a strategic thinking session over the weekend. It involved a few beers and a couple of cigars on his back porch. We were both making notes. and we were divvying up assignments in the newsroom for what we were going to specialize in, and what part of terrorism. And I ended up with the chemical, biological, and radiological warfare. So when people start talking about anthrax and dirty bombs and crap like that, hi there, master's degree level research here. And I also got assigned to go down to Fort Hood, which is the biggest Army base in the country, holding 2 Army divisions. And they, on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, they started doing show and tells, meaning, hey, we're going to go shoot some rockets. And if you want to come down and get video of this, this is, they weren't sure where we were going. But one time it was rockets. One time there was a tank battle that they had tanks appearing from 3 directions at once, all shooting at the same set of targets. It was overwhelming. Artillery, because they have what they call the impact area in a base. It's kind of usually the middle, and everybody shoots towards that. And everybody shoots that direction. You're going to hit it. And they had 40 or 50 tubes, each individual piece of artillery, and they had a time on target. We're real big on this, very secret stuff. Not secret. We're the ones who developed it. Why shoot one cannon at a time? You can shoot 40, so all of the shells hit at one time and basically wipe off the hill. And that's what they did. And it was like, huh? You've never seen it. It's unbelievable. Yeah. And then they, we got show and tell with the armored personnel carriers and the tanks, and we're crawling all over this stuff and looking at the rifles and, stuff that people, it's good PR for the Army, because these kids, these kids are going out, we're going to be going down range pretty soon. So,
I think the biggest takeaway from 9/11 that, I guess we're still paying for now is how we went to handle the reaction to it, which turned into the war in Iraq and several other different small wars all around it.
Afghanistan.
And basically, Afghanistan. And basically, it's continuous war and bloodshed. I think a lot of people right now are talking about how they regret what they voted on back in 2002 and 3 and 4 and so on and so forth in Congress, but a lot of people are doubling down at the same time, saying that they would do it all over again. And so, there's so much that we have no idea what happened. There's so many fingers that they're pointing and blaming, and people need to realize, we got to get over that part, and we have to realize that what happened was a tragedy. It's an attack on America, and we had to handle it the way you handle attacks. And war is ugly,
Yeah, it is. And, that's one of the things that here in Orlando, everybody is still, after 8 years, hung up on the basically the massacre at the Pulse nightclub.
Exactly.
This was not some whacked out guy. This was a self-educated Arab terrorist, a jihadist, who took it upon himself to go kill all of these people. What was a soft target. And, both the Orlando police officers were right there, and they didn't do a damn thing. This guy just goes right in through the front door, goes right past them, and starts shooting. He'd already been inside to check it out, left, came back with a rifle, and just walked right past the cops. Blam, blam, blam.
All these soft targets that we have, the nightclubs, the schools, the churches. We have all these soft targets are out there, and we keep wondering why, terrorist action happens. And it happens because we're not doing anything to defend ourselves for it.
Yeah, and at the same token, we got to search you because you have fingernail clippers in your pocket. Yeah, I'd like to meet the son of a bitch who'd try to hijack an American aircraft, a passenger aircraft, in this day and age. That would, let me tell you.
Exactly. I think schools should be just as secure as airports.
How about a bank? How about a bank?
Same way. Exactly.
The high school in Alpharetta, Georgia, down in Winder, Georgia, they had a school resource officer. He was at the far end where everything was going on.
Right.
How the hell did the kid get a rifle into the school?
No metal detectors.
What? No metal, because it's out in the country. Okay, this high school will be compatible to what they have in Pensacola, in Pace. Pace High School. It's not quite the country, but there are kids who have animals at the farm, and but it's not severely rural, but it's getting more developed than it used to. When I lived in Atlanta, it was way the hell out in the country, but it's. I mean, in the old days, some of us might have had a rifle or a shotgun on the rack in the back window of our pickup truck, and nobody would have thought anything of it. Meanwhile,
bring it in.
Yeah. Meanwhile, some Eagle Scout that has a hatchet locked up in the trunk of his car gets expelled because there's a hatchet locked up in the trunk of his car. He wouldn't get in the hatchet. He had to, help somebody change a flat tire or something.
Right.
And the parking lot attendant saw it and called the cops. Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
He was going to scout camp or scout training after high school. It's crazy shit like that. You just scratch your head and go, whoa, we're zero tolerance. Well, zero tolerance is zero common sense. And I've said that before, and it's absolutely true. Everybody's entitled to make a mistake. You make mistakes, you learn from them, you drive on. I didn't, for instance, ever learn from any of my mistakes, but I got over it and I pushed on through. By the way, if you like all of this, we do it on a regular basis, pretty much, and we would appreciate a like, a share, certainly a subscribe, and we have an announcement coming up in our very next episode, so we'll look forward to a little surprise on our part. On behalf of Greg Fink in Gainesville, I'm Rob Milford in Orlando. Our fingers are crossed that Matt Gaetz, all this info will come out and he will be humiliated and forced from the Congress of the United States. But then he'll say, oh, it's a political witch hunt. Hey, asshole, you did it. You're responsible. If any of us, me, him, if we'd done it, we would already be in jail. But you're Matt Gaetz and you're special and daddy's money's gotten you out of a lot of shitstorms before. Well, let's see if that dog will hunt right now. You all take care and thanks for joining us on the Political Matrix News.